All right, bud, you gotta tell what we're doing.
Today we're gonna cut some trees.
Well, not just any tree.
Maple.
It's gotta be a maple tree.
Gotta be maple.
There's the top of this one. We gotta have a drill. And tools. A drill. You see where we drilled it last time? We got a hole right here. We don't want to drill it in the same place twice. We want to kind of stay.
There's a hole on this side
Yeah, we drilled this one twice, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking we'll put it here, the bucket. So give me a bucket and put the bucket there. And you can set it on the tree. That's it on the ground, right? Put the lid on it.
We had to drill holes in the lid. I think it was 7/8.
There.
7/16.
And then we need a hose.
And we have a 5/16 drill bit chucked up in the drill ready to drill a hole in the
We
tree.
should have made our hole a little bigger.
I'll keep the bugs out and be fine.
Yeah, ain't got holes in it. Have to make it bigger. Made our hole too small.
Well, that's one way to make it bigger.
There we go. Just barely, but a little too small, right?
Made it bigger with a good old pocket knife.
Alright, the lid goes on, keep all the bugs, the critters out, and then we need to tap it.
Should I try to do the hammering on it?
When you want to try to drill, you want to just hammer it.
Probably drill it.
Alright, so we got to hold the drill, you want to go slightly up. A little bit of angle, see how we're going up and not level. And hold the trigger. Pull the trigger. See if we can go. There we go. Pull the trigger for real. Hard to do for sideways, bud. Alright, see how much we got in there. That's deep enough. Clean her all out. Got no sap running yet. Pretty soon though. Alright, we gotta get the mallet. Hold on.
Went in up at an angle, right? I'm gonna guess I have to get driven in at an angle?
Yep. That's cool an angle. I'll read back so we can see what we're doing. Do it the hard way. Like that. We just gotta do that 4 more times, right?
Yep.
And they're not running yet, but it might later. A little early. Last time we didn't do them this early, but it's starting to get warm already. It's probably freeze now though. Right?
Yeah. Might bust our bucket.
There's a hole there. We tapped this one last time too. Let's do this one on this other side. So we tapped it there. So let's put it over there. Can you get a bucket over here? Clean all that stuff out of the way. All the sticks. Throw them at the mom. And bang, we'll put a lid on it.
How to get it level.
Good luck. Come on, lid, get on there. There you go. There you go. Like that. Come around there, what do you think? All right, grab the mallet. Alright, give her a knack. A little tap. There you go. We're not driving nails, we're just tapping in so it sticks, right? Good enough.
It's right behind you.
Why is it all the way over there?
Probably because you trapped it.
Alright. Find some more trees. Doesn't take very long, right?
Yep.
Lids are a little too cheap. Hopefully good enough. Oh, I didn't make the hole bigger yet. Right around here somewhere. I'm gonna knock this one in too. Give her a couple. There you go. Couple light taps. Grab those lids in that bucket. This one here we used to do too. We've done this one before. See, we drilled it here last year.
Good looking tree.
Put a bucket under it.
Where did you put that tree?
Put it right there. We're gonna go higher than that other hole anyway. It'll go up higher than it was last time. Seriously, man, what'd you do? Got all the leaves in it. Alright, my lid. You got leaves and everything, bud. What are you doing? Make this hole bigger too, right?
Yep.
We got a bigger drill bit when we started, but drilled it right there last time, so let's move over to here. I don't want to be right in line with the old one, right? I don't know why, it just seems like a bad idea. Might not matter. Perfect. Alright, we got what? One more tree?
Yep.
Alright, let's go find another one. None of our maple trees are very big. We need to grow some bigger maple trees. Alright, get a lid on it. Too small a drill bit problem, right? Could go with a bigger tree than this, but this is the one we got. Without going anywhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we went over the other side of the woods, we could find a bigger tree, but we already have this one.
Yeah, too much maple up here anyway. If it drops dead, it won't be the end of the world.
Yeah, we don't need all these trees.
It's supposed to be oak hickory, and it's all trapped up with this maple anyway, so.
We're all done, we just gotta wait now.
Wait and wait and wait.
See if it warms up.
See if it gets above freezing. If it does, it'll start running, and
This is the first year I tried the buckets. We'll have to see if those work. I usually use like juice jars and stuff, right? You have to empty them all the time. So I'm hoping I only have to empty these once or twice.
mm-hmm.
Save me some work. Okay, cool. All right, so recording.
The sap series. Another video that's completely out of order. But kind of is, because we just boiled down sap and we're here to collect more.
We gotta get more sap, right? And see how well the trees did.
As you can see, we've gotten some sort of cart, completely just metal. Dad did the twine. He wrapped a bunch of twine around it. But as you can see on the ground here, pretty muddy.
take tractor out there, could we?
Nope. Definitely couldn't, because as we've always said, the smokestack's gonna fall off.
You would think. Let's see if we got any sap in these buckets that we can collect.
And here we have our first bucket.
In order for the tree to collect sap, it has to get cold at night, like really freezing, and then warm during the day. And I don't know if we've got cold enough at night for the sap to collect, because that one doesn't have much sap in it. So we might not have any sap to boil down today. Might get a day off, what do you think? There's a little tiny bit in there, but not very much, see?
Yeah.
So transfer that into this bucket. You're watching me, or are you staring at the ground? We'll put that in there, not very much. We'll check the other trees too. Might be not a very good year because it froze.
This tree's good because it's in the sunlight.
Yeah, it froze really hard right in the peak time. You're staring at a tree again, bud. Watch through the camera. Look everything through the lens. You're like,
I can't see everything through the lens.
I don't know what to tell you, bud. People don't want to be staring off into space. All right. Let's see what this one has in it. Not much of this one either. Might not have enough to worry about boiling down. We got a little bit more in there. See? A little bit more in there.
We might have enough to get at least one bucket.
Well, we do it one bucket at a time, so if we got enough to fill the bucket, we'll be all set, right? We'll just go ahead and boil it down, and then we'll come out next time. If it gets cold at night, it'll collect more sap.
But a good thing about checking sap, when you get thirsty, just get a drink from the sap bucket.
Sugary water, right?
Yep. Very refreshing.
Yep, we got more sugary water. We're hoping to get about 5 gallons, because that's enough to work on boiling down, right?
Yep.
5 gallons of it, that's enough to make it worth boiling down.
We're going to get only about this much syrup out of it, though.
Yeah, it boils down a whole bunch, right?
Yep.
Takes a lot of syrup.
But it mostly just gets out all the water, so it's syrupy.
Takes a lot of sap to make syrup. You know, one more bucket to check.
And that might fill our bucket.
We're doing pretty good. That's not quite 5 gallons, but it's enough to cook down, right?
I'd say about 4 1/4.
You got it real slow, because I could have put the lid on, right? I guess you could just turn. We got to turn around here anyway. So maybe I'll turn around, and I'll just bring the bucket over to this bucket. What do you think?
This tree also probably should do good because it's kind of in the sun.
It's in the sun, but it's not very big. We really need bigger trees than this. We're using kind of smallish trees, but they're the easy ones to get to. Our bigger trees are hard to get to, so we'll just use these ones, and we don't need that much syrup anyway, right?
That's probably enough to boil.
Yeah, it's not quite 5 gallons, but it's enough to boil down. That's enough to get boiling. We'll have to show them how we put it on the back porch to do it, right? Because we got to do it on the back porch, right? If you want. You got the camera, you're the cameraman. Make sure you're not staring at the ground, though.
We hope this teaches you at least something.
What'd they learn?
Some things that are tasty come from trees.
Yeah. It's not a hard job either, really, right? It's a nice day to walk around the woods.
Our planet is practically made out of trees.
Last year we tapped 10 trees, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year we only tapped 5 because we made way too much sap last year. We still got some from last year. So.
It's a pity that tree's not a maple.
Yeah, it's not.
It's in the sun, it's nice
Right,
and big.
It's big, yeah. Well, we got bigger trees. They're just the easy ones to get to, right?
Soon it should be springtime. And to celebrate, I rigged a bunch of Christmas carols. Moved around the words a bit. But this time, when it's still muddy, try to stay on the leaves.
Yeah, you'll think. We should probably go out and walk around the woods just to look at our wood. You haven't looked at it since winter, since the last freeze.
We really do need to cut this tree down. I'm about to hit my head on it. And even though I'm too short.
Well, you didn't used to be tall enough to hit your head on it, so you must have grown over the winter.
These puddles, if you get nice and muddy, always good to just walk in the shallows.
Dog likes them too, right?
Yeah. Max would sometimes find a clean spot and drink.
Yeah. Sometimes he just lays it and makes it all muddy too.
What I would do if I was overheated, I'd find the nearest puddle. I usually drink right from the tap outside though.
Yeah.
Even though you might think, oh yay, it looks like it's summer in here. Not exactly yet.
Not quite. Getting better though.
Yep. I used to like to play in those grasses. I'd run through them, whack, fall over, playing them, rolling them.
A little muddy now though.
Yeah.
It's sink in the mud. Have to dry up a little bit.
It was even fun in the winter because they were covered in snow and I was like, run, 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 trip, oof. I also used to hang out in that old truck over there often. As you can see, we're about to maybe throw those chickens in a pot.
Pot?
Yep.
I don't think so. I think they're all right. They need to get off our porch though, don't they?
Yeah.
Chickens need to stay off our porch.
That's why we need to throw them in a pot.
All right, well let's go turn the video off and we'll go move to the back porch.
You wanted professionals to do this part? Well, too bad, you got us.
Well, we're pretty decent. I think we can make it work, right? All right, we got our bucket of sap. The lid off of it. Bucket of sap. I'm pour it in this pan, this canner. You looking at the canner? I'm pour it in this canner, and that's on our induction burner, right?
Which is about to die.
Well, we got another one. We had to buy one. This one lasted a lot of years. It's been a pretty good induction burner. It lasted about 5 years, so we've really used it. How do they work?
A magnet turns, and it soon turns so fast it makes heat.
Well, it's not turning. It changes the polarity. So it's like a magnetic coil, and it changes the magnetics of it, and that changes the magnetics in the metal and the water, and it makes it get hot without any moving parts. That's what makes it induction. We're going to pour this in here. Got a camera? You can know what you're looking at. And we'll strain this before we move it to the kitchen. So if any of the little sticks and leaves and stuff fall in there, it's not a big deal, right? Because we're going to strain it before we actually bring it into the kitchen.
Now right about to that line is where you want it.
Yeah, that's where we usually do it, but that's all the sap we got today. We'll check again tomorrow and the day after. And we're going to turn it on. And the induction burner has a fan in it, so it just kind of sits there. And the nice thing about the induction burner is we can just kind of leave it out here. There's no flame, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not really, can't really cause a fire or anything. It'll kick the breaker out if anything happens. So we can kind of turn this on and walk away for a couple hours. And then it'll turn itself off after 2 hours. We have to keep resetting it, but that's all right. Just gotta wait.
Yep.
We've got to make sure, look, window's open. Do you see the window open?
Yep.
And the camera, silly, and the cameras. We make sure that we open the windows because while we're on a back porch, this keeps all the bugs and stuff out of our sap that we're boiling down, but the steam has to go somewhere, and if we did this indoors, it'd wreck our house, right? So instead we're doing it on the back porch, and then the steam can go out these big windows and not steam up our whole back porch too much, right? What else do you know about making sap? You got it all?
Another thing is, if you want to, you could try to make a filter system to go in the bucket, like a pool filter.
So when you first pull it in, it filters it?
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have to filter it before we make it inside?
Yep.
That might work too. But we basically just let it cook down here, and then once it cooks down, we filter it to put it in a smaller pot, and then we bring it inside to cook it the rest of the way, right?
Another thing I know is sap is actually the tree's food.
It's what makes the leaves and stuff grow, right?
Yep.
So yeah, they need that sap too. We're just taking a little bit off the top. They still get enough sap to live. We're just taking a little bit of sap. And that's why we use maple trees. They make a bunch of sap. If we tried to tap like an oak tree or something, we wouldn't get very much sap. But maples, for some reason, maples make a whole bunch of sap. So
Never
they're good
tap
trees.
the same tree twice. Never tap the same spot on a tree twice.
Well, yeah, it won't work. You have to tap somewhere else. We should be tapping different trees. So maybe next year we'll find different trees and won't tap the same trees, and we'll give them a break over a year so they can grow.
But
bigger and
remember
faster.
this. Taking sap from a tree does not hurt the tree.
No, not very much. You're just taking a little bit of its food. It's okay. They don't die. They're doing all right. We can try new trees next year to try to protect our trees a little more, but now we just got to wait. It'll take a long time, so about, I don't know, 6 or 8 hours to boil this down to enough to bring it in the house, right? Mm-hmm. So we just kind of ignore it and let it run out here.
Today we are working on the next video of the sap series. We already boiled it down outside, so we just need to do it in here, but we did it outside first so we don't set off the smoke alarm.
Well, not smoke alarm, it steams, right? Mm-hmm. So it's something like 40 to 1 water. We got to boil off a whole lot of water. So what I did is I took it on the porch and we boiled it down in a big pot on the porch so all that steam would go in the air, because if we did it in our kitchen, all that steam would go in our kitchen. It'd wreck our cabinets and it'd wreck the wallpaper, so we can't do it all indoors. But once we get it down to where it's just a small amount, and this is almost syrup, right? Mm-hmm. Then we can do it inside. And this isn't syrup yet, but when it cooks down a little bit more, it'll turn into syrup. Right now it's very sugary water, right? Mm-hmm. So how are we going to check to see if it's syrup?
With this thingy. It's called a refractometer.
Refractometer, right?
And the way it works, you look in here and you would see a little chart.
Right, we get over here in front of the stove so they can see it.
And there would be a little blue meter inside, and there would be, how do you read the thing?
Well, when you put it on there, you can't do it now, but let me here, turn it, here, let's set it down so people can see it, okay? So what happens is, you take this thing here, and you flip this up, and then you put a little drop of syrup right there on that glass, and then when you close this, the weight of this smashes it down. And then when you look through this other end, you can see a scale in there. And the scale got a bunch of numbers on it. And we want the line that this drop makes, it'll make a blue line or not a blue line. And we want that line to be right between 66 and 68 bricks. It measures in bricks, which is a measurement, just like any other measurement, right? Mm-hmm. When we're right between 66 and 68 bricks. And that's how we do it. So we use this little dropper. We'll get some syrup and we'll put it under that little glass thing. We'll put one little drop here. I can't see, our head's in the way right there. And then we'll put it on there, and then we'll look at it in the light, and we'll read the bricks meter, and when it gets at that bricks, that means it's syrup, because if it isn't at that bricks, then it's more like sugary water, and if we go past that, then it turns into like candy. And we want it to be syrup, right? We want maple syrup.
But it can make some good sugar lumps in the bottom.
It does. If you go too far, it starts to crystallize, and you get sugar, right? Which is still pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we use this. There's other ways to do it. This was just, it wasn't very expensive. I don't remember what this meter cost. It wasn't, I mean, it's cheap enough that I bought it, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple other methods. So one of the ways we can do it, we can measure, is if I used a thermometer, candy thermometer, you can do it by temperature. So this would be a candy thermometer. And it's hard to see in this film because I'm too close to it. But anyway, this would be the candy thermometer. Pull that sleeve off for me.
Why do they call it a candy thermometer?
Because you use it to make candy. And we could do it by temperature. So we could boil this, and we could keep boiling it down, and we could keep checking the temperature of it. And if we check the temperature, it would eventually get up to the right temperature. And I don't remember what it actually was last time we did this. It seems like it was right around 100 degrees Celsius, but I don't remember. We'd have to Google it and look it up, right?
Yep.
But once it gets there, the temperature is what determines its syrup. So put that back away. And what happens is, as this boils, as it boils down more and more sugar and less water, the boiling temperature goes up. So you boil it the whole time, and we're trying to boil it now, but we ain't got it going yet, right? The boiling temperature goes up because there's less water, more sugar, and when the boiling temperature reaches that 100 degrees Celsius or whatever it is, then you know it's got just the right amount of sugar, because that's what the boiling point is. So that's one way to do it. We got some dirt on our burner, look at that. There's something on our burner making smoke. There's another method to do it too. Can you get me a spoon? And the other method to tell if it's syrup is to use a spoon. So if you take an ordinary spoon, we know this isn't syrup yet, but if you take an ordinary spoon and dip it in here and pull it out, you can look at the back of the spoon, and that ran right off the back of our spoon, right? Well, when it's syrup, it'll stick. It'll leave like a film on there that's visible. And right now, we're too watery. See it dripping down like water? We need to boil it down a bunch more. But if it starts to stick to the spoon and look like syrup, then it's probably syrup. But I imagine this meter is probably the most accurate way to do it, right? But right now, we got sugary water. Here, you try some?
Yeah, it's still a little good.
What does it taste like?
Kind of syrup, but not quite.
Kind of sugary, but not quite syrup yet, huh?
Has the same taste, but it doesn't feel like syrup.
Right. So we're going to boil this down, and we're going to keep an eye on it because it boils down pretty fast once we get down to this little amount. So we're going to turn that down to, it's getting too hot.
That's quite good, actually.
We'll boil it down, and when this boils down to syrup, we'll put it in a canning jar. And the nice thing about canning it, can you find my canning jar?
Here.
Is we can pack it in this jar, and the nice thing about it is it's already going to be hot. Normally when you can stuff, you have to heat it up to boiling or near boiling temperature, and then when you put it in this jar, you'll put the lid on it and then the ring on it, and because it's hot, it'll create a vacuum when it cools. But since we're boiling sap, it's already hot. So all we got to do is pour it in the jar. We'll sterilize the jar first. We'll pour it in the jar, put the cap on it, ring on it, and it'll, after a while, it'll go dink, and then it'll be sealed, right?
If you're wondering how we do that safely,
they can't see. That's our jar lifter, right? We don't really need that though. That's more for working in the canner. If you're canning something normally, you'd use a big pot of boiling water, right? And you'd lift this out of the water. We're not going to do that because this is already boiling. We just need to put it in the jar.
one thing you will need though, one of these handy dandy jar funnels.
Yeah, the funnel, because it'll make a mess, right?
Fits in the mouth of the jar almost perfectly.
Yeah, it'll make a tremendous mess. Can you get me one of the can jars over there? Can you reach them? Don't break it.
This is one of the jars we canned.
Yep, we already got some in a jar, and I put the date on it so that I know when we did it, because we do this every year, right? So we want to make sure we use last year's syrup up before we use this year's syrup up. So I already put the date on it, but that would be syrup. And you can kind of see in the jar that it feels like syrup. See how it's coating the glass?
Yep.
It's more syrupy than sugar water like that is.
Still looks a little watery though.
This? I don't think so. I tested it. It's right. It's just because it's in such a small jar. And this jar is not very clear anyway. It's got those decorations on it. But yeah, see how that doesn't have a button? When you push on it, it's sucked down. It's vacuumed.
Let me show you a jar with a button push.
Okay, bring one of the ones out of there.
One of the jars with the buttons push takes this jam jar, for instance.
Oh, we'll get over everything and see it. So yeah, the jam jar would have had the same button down, but now that it's been opened, it's not vacuum sealed. But when this was new, it would have been down like that, right? But that, now it's popped up. I thought you were going to get one of the old syrup jars. You usually keep, once we open them, we keep it in the fridge, right?
You probably will see it better in a jar, in fact.
Yeah, once we open them, we refrigerate them, but until we open them, they can stay on the shelf in the basement, right?
Yep.
And that'll last a long time. We have some from last year still that we haven't used up. So this year's will go on the shelf behind last year's, and then we'll have syrup.
We usually sometimes use it up in whipped cream.
Making waffles and pancakes and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
French toast. Yeah. Kind of hungry.
Toast.
Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. Maybe we'll have to make breakfast tomorrow and use up some of our old syrup so we can get to this new stuff.
I'm hungrier.
Yeah. All right. So we need a couple more steps. After we jar it, it's done. We can take it and put on the basement, right? And then this is starting to steam. Once this starts boiling, it'll cook down, and we'll check it and get it the right level, and then we'll be able to can it, and then we'll be done with our syrup and put it on the shelf.
Before we can, we'll probably need to find some jar lids.
We have some. But we also have more in one batch, so I still have buckets under the trees, right? This isn't all our sap, so we still need to go get more sap off the trees, and then we'll put it on the back porch and boil more down, and then we'll boil all the water out down there, and then we'll bring it in here, and we'll probably end up doing this several times until the trees stop making sap, right? Ready for pancakes?
Yes.
You try out the syrup. Does it look like food?
Looks like food.
Looks like food.
If it's green, then it would be poison.
Well, you know, It's syrup. It'll probably be all right.
Unless it's green eggs and ham, though.
It might still not be good. I don't know. Sam, I am getting some liking that wok first, right?